What's up, YouTube? Guess what time it is? It's merger time. Yes, we are going to merge our corporate networks to facilitate a business merger. If you look at the diagram before us, we have Forest A. Within Forest A, we have TylerLabEnv.com domain. This will be our target domain. In the blue corner, we have Forest B. Within Forest B, we have a domain called LabEnvA.com. This will be our source domain. The objective is to migrate accounts from the source domain, which is LabEnvA.com, to the target domain, which is TylerLabEnv.com. We have a two-way transitive trust established between both domains within each forest. If there are two different geographical locations, which obviously there would be, you need to make sure that there is an established VPN tunnel between both sites that will allow you to set up a trust between each forest. Without that VPN tunnel, you will not get this to work. So we have everything set up and ready to go. Let's jump over to our target domain. Forgive me, the source domain. No, target domain. This is where we will migrate everything to. And over here is our source domain. So I just moved Glenda from Rhode Island OU. She was in this OU. And I just put her in the sandbox because we're going to migrate Glenda Roberts. So let's open up the Active Directory migration wizard. We're going to leave other defaults, select next, select user from the domain. And again, we want to migrate her from the LabEnvA.com because that's where she's currently located. Glenda Roberts, yep, click OK. Click next. The target OU will be migrated users. We're going to migrate the passwords. And we're going to target same as source and then disable the account upon migration. We're going to unselect fixed group membership because we don't want to add her to any groups other than domain users, which is what she's added to by default when she arrives at the new domain. We're going to click next. We're not going to migrate if there's an issue or a conflict. We're going to finish. And it takes a couple seconds. And it's completed. We have both forests synchronizing to Microsoft 365. So all of these user accounts are replicated to Azure Active Directory. We have password hash sync enabled along with unified group writeback and hybrid domain join. So all of our devices that are domain joined on-prem will also be visible within Azure AD devices. So if we look in our Forest A, which is our target domain, and go find the migrated users, we will find Glenda Roberts. Now there's a couple more things we have to do. First thing we want to do is grab her email address. Usually what I like to do is find another user that has and copy and paste that in because I don't feel like typing it in. We're going to click OK. And give me 1 second while I fire up TeamViewer once more. And what we want to do is add an alias or primary SMTP. So now if we query that user object, there it is. And I know I've migrated the password, but one thing I want to do is unselect the user must change password because we don't need to make her change the password. And in fact, what I'm going to do anyways is I'm just going to reset it. I don't have to, but I honestly can't remember what it is, so I'm going to reset it. One final step is we will move her to M365 users. Before I do that, we are going to force a sync. And this is her. So now let's pull up our M365. King J. Brown will be next. And let's look for Glenda Roberts. Now Glenda Roberts should be changing here very soon. Another way we can verify this is by going to the Azure Active Directory So migrating the user account on-prem is easy peasy. The tricky part is getting them set up in Office 365 post-migration. But as you can see, it's a smooth process with relatively no issue. So let's find Glenda Roberts. Hopefully she will be changing soon to TylerLabEnv.com. And my TeamViewer session is going to boot me out here any second, so I apologize. I will fire it back up as soon as it does. And what I want to do is go back over here and force another sync. Once we moved this user over from migrated users to M365 users, it will re-add her to the synchronized objects because that OU is in fact synchronized to M365, whereas the migrated user account or OU is not. Same with the target domain. Sandbox is not synchronized, whereas all these OUs for each state is. So if we look on the synchronization service, we should see updates. Oh, I'm sorry. And this is most likely the user that we just migrated, Glenda Roberts. So let's verify that by very good. I think I just saw a good sign, although my TeamViewer session booted me out, so I apologize. Oh, very good, Glenda Roberts. So it's making me sign in with her account now. That's a good sign. In fact, that is a great sign. email might not work right away. And wow, it did. Cool. And even the all the emails came right over lickety split. Now I might have to sign out in and out again for some of these, and that's exactly what we'll do. So it should say, yep, Glenda Roberts at TylerLabEnv.com. Very good. Click OK. Make sure the email works. Let's go back over here to Azure AD and refresh. All right, GN Roberts. All right, GN Roberts. So let's send her an email, make sure it comes through. Notice how I'm working from the web browser. And I'm going to search the address book by going all users. And I'm going to select her. So we have the updated email address. I think I duplicated that by mistake, so I'm going to remove this one. And let's make sure the email did in fact get sent. All right, very good, very good, very good. One thing that I also want to do is jump back on the, actually let's do this. And those changes were relatively quick, a lot faster than I thought it would, so pretty awesome. One annoying thing is her old email address will be it will auto populate when you send emails to her. And none of us have the time to actually look and see what, I mean, unfortunately we should, but it's always a work in progress. So verify that you're using the address book, because that will be your best friend. And then what we want to do is set her up as, we want to set her alias for her old email account. So if we look for, I might have to refresh, Glenda Roberts, attribute editor. Now this is the same thing we did with PowerShell with the set AD user, only we're using the GUI for to add the alias. So we're going to look for proxy addresses, and this time it's going to be SMTP. GN Roberts at CloudTLabs on Microsoft.com. Click apply, and we're going to force another sync. Because if users try sending to the old email address, we want them to come to the new email address, or we want them to come through. It's also a good practice to notify your vendors so they're aware of the email address change, because that will help simplify the process going forward. there's already enough confusion, so whatever we can do to make it simple, we'll make it more efficient. So let's go back. I gotta stop saying so much. I've been through a few of these mergers now, so some of it becomes second nature. And there it is. That was fast. So her proxy address was added. So if we email this address, and let's try it real quick just to be safe. Watch it not work. Because the Cloud T Labs on Microsoft.com, like I don't actually think that is actually no, it is registered. So let's go back over to Thomas. Oh, what am I doing? I gotta drag the screen over. Crazy me. It's almost bedtime. Oh, it is. It's midnight. It's bedtime. Okay. So, oh, very good. And we're going to do test. You can tell I've done a few of these as well because the OCD in me, yes, I want to make sure email's working for people, so I will often just send nothing but test emails to make sure that they're actually working. And it's also end user assurance to make sure that they're seeing that come through so they know it works and gives them peace of mind. Nothing would be more frustrating than having your email not work. There it is. So we have both email aliases added with the new domain specified as the primary email. Let's check out the calendar items. Yep, very good. She's got training tomorrow and vacation next week. Very good. I wish. And then let's peek at OneDrive for Business and make sure the couple files that were created are in fact there. Depending on the email, the size of your mailbox, it could take some time for that to fix post migration once you add the aliases and move them back over to the synchronized OU. It could take anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes approximately for the email to work again. So it's a good time. It's good to do it when the user's not there or if they're not using their email address. And it'll most likely kick back a 500 error code saying there's a problem accessing Outlook, yada, yada, yada. That's okay. That's totally fine. That will fix itself within a matter of minutes. OneDrive, Microsoft Office, all that stuff will in fact work. It's just the email sometimes takes a little bit longer depending on the mailbox size. And in this case today, it's a OneDrive that's taking a little bit longer. That's all right. And it's going to make us sign back in probably. That would make sense. There it is. Okay. Dumb data is there. Very good. And let's see if we can go to the OneDrive for Business and have it actually show up this time. You know, some things will take time to come over. That's not all perfect. And you will run into some oddballs on occasion. Different steps will be required to troubleshoot and resolve. My apologies, my TeamViewer account deactivated again. And this is the third time, so that means I'm pushing 15-20 minutes. And I swore to myself I wouldn't do that. But I wanted to get this out there because my trial is about ready to expire in Microsoft. In fact, the lady called me from Texas the other day, and she's like, hey, you want to buy this, and this? And I'm like, no, it's just a lab. And she's like, oh, well, thank you for taking my call. I'm like, oh, well, thank you for not getting mad at me. Haha, funny story, not. So that's my TeamViewer password that I'm sure everyone really wants to see. How cool. Yeah, good going, Tyler. Show that. Alright, OneDrive. Let's go to refresh again and see if it's actually showing up. We know the files are there. And this could be as simple as signing out. And if you really want to be a step ahead of the curve, back up your Office 365 before you do this. Is it required? No, it's not. You can do it without doing that, but it will make it a lot easier in the event you do run into issues down the road. Okay, so we do have the documents that were created. We can click on both. Looks like they're both there. They're both visible. Let's go back to the OneDrive. All right, there it is. It's finally working. Yahoo. So I think we have everything working. So I can finally end this video. Very good. Real quick, email. Let's make sure that email is working. And then Teams. I don't think I did anything in Teams, but Teams is synchronized with your Outlook. Archive too. I also had some things archived, or I should say Glenda did. So this video is going on almost 20 plus minutes, 22. So there's a lot of steps involved. Now setting this up is quite the process, so we can go over that again down the road. And we also have a Windows 10 computer that we can add her to, or she can now sign into because it's joined to the TylerLab environment A. We have a couple groups here. These are the email groups that are being written back to the Active Directory. She's part of purchasing, but I'm going to add her to the marketing group because that's what her boss wanted her to be part of. So she's changing positions, going to a different department. Oh, so we want to, silly me, add Glenda. I was trying to add the group to the group. Not cool. Now if we look back on the old domain, we will see that it's been disabled, hopefully. So if I refresh, there it is, disabled, very good. And we want to find out who she was reporting to. George Bender. I haven't migrated George Bender yet, but what we can do is, since Brenda is going to be working for, oh, my TeamViewer thing died again. Darn you. It wouldn't do that if I had the paid version, but I am definitely not buying the paid version for this. Sorry, folks. You can deal with like the couple second interruptions while I sign back in. And for those of you that don't know, TeamViewer is a remote software. You can use it for free. However, it will kick you out of a remote session after 5 minutes, as it's done like 5 times for this video. Haha. So let's find Owen. Owen will be Glenda's supervisor. And she is part of marketing. And her office will be the main office. All of this stuff was migrated over. The only thing that didn't come over were groups. Domain users is added by default for any user you create in Active Directory. This is part of the TylerLab environment Active Directory group, not the Lab Environment A, which was our source domain. So the new domain users group that was just added was from the target domain, automatically added post-migration. So let's fire up our Windows 10 machine and log her in real quick. Maybe. I know this video went a lot longer than I thought it did, so I apologize. It should be signing her in. I don't know why it's not. So again, just to recap, before you even think about setting up your trust between your forests, whether how many forests you have, make sure that you have a site-to-site VPN established. Whether it's a dedicated fiber uplink or a VPN tunnel, you have to have that connection. Otherwise, it will not work. Once you have that connection in place and you can effectively communicate between both geographical locations, you can then add or build out the trust. And before we end the video, I'll show you that real quick. So we're going to go to Domains and Trusts. I think that's signing her in. Yes, it is. All right, good. Okay, cool. So we're going to go to the TylerLabEnv.com. That will be our source domain. I'm sorry, our target domain. For outgoing trusts, we're going to click Properties. And let's validate. The trust has been validated.